You know that feeling where you've checked off 10 things on your to-do list, you've responded to every email, and you got to zero inbox, you made dinner, you folded laundry, and yet you still kind of feel off? Like somehow, despite doing all the things, you didn't actually get anything really meaningful done? Well, busyness has a way of tricking us. It kind of convinces us we're being productive while quietly draining, sucking our energy and creativity and joy out of us. So in this episode of Cozy Notes, we're talking about the real cost of being busy all the time, how I learned this the hard way, and how you can begin to create more breathing room in your life. I'm starting this week. And if you're craving an even deeper reset, I got something special coming up and I can't wait to share. If you're new here, I'm Suan and this is Cozy Notes. It's a podcast for anyone craving a slower, more intentional life. And as you can see, today's episode is taking place in my car because life is a little bit busy right now. I homeschool my kids and we do homeschool through a charter school. And charter schools are part of the public school system. And we have to take state testing. The kids have to take state testing this week. And so we woke up early, which is kind of hard for us homeschoolers. We're kind of used to sleeping in, not having to wake up to an alarm. And we had to head, how many towns over? 2 towns over to drop off my boys so they could take the state testing. Luckily, my daughter doesn't have to take it yet. She's only in 1st grade. So yeah, after that, we got lunch and then we headed straight to their art class. So yeah, that's today. And I thought, I forgot all about the testing. And so yesterday I thought, oh yeah, I'll record my podcast tomorrow. And then when I actually looked at my calendar, it's like, oh no, never mind. And instead of trying to fit recording a podcast in after all the things, because I know I'm going to be exhausted because I've been driving back and forth, running errands while my kids are at their testing and then dropping them off at their art class. And normally I go for a walk. Usually Wednesdays are my days to like just chillax and not be online and go for a walk and just like, you know, clear my brain. And that's not happening, but that's okay. So I just figured I could record the podcast in the car, because I know by the time we get home, I'm going to be tired and I'm not going to want to record the podcast. So, you know, maybe I'll record another one. We'll see. But I'm just, you know, it's kind of like a cloudy, gloomy day. It's like been sprinkling all morning, so I can't really go on my walk like I would love to. I guess I could, but I just didn't bring a rain jacket, so I'm not going to. Instead of scrolling on my phone for an hour and a half, I'm recording a podcast in my car. So today's focus is the sneaky, exhausting cost of always being busy. Because let's be honest, it's like super freaking exhausting. Like it's constantly being busy. Like we feel like we're being productive, but it's just draining us. And are we really being productive? Like when we really think about it, are we really being productive? That's kind of an existential question, I guess. Are we really productive when we're doing all these things that are on our to-do list? I don't know. Maybe not. The first part is about how busyness masquerades as productivity. So as we know, in all the other episodes I've recorded, our culture glorifies busyness, right? And if you're choosing not to be busy, then you must be freaking lazy. And busy means more, and more supposedly means better. So constantly being busy in order to feel productive often leads to like a shallow focus. You know, if you're doing all the things, you're not really giving attention to like the things that are actually important. It also leads to burnout too. So being busy gives us an illusion that we're in control, but it keeps us from noticing what actually needs attention in our lives. It's not until we look at things kind of like in a big picture kind of way that we realize that all these little things that we're focusing on aren't really important, and the things that we should be focusing on, we're like not, and that's not good. That's because sometimes that's like our relationships, that's our, you know, with our family and our friends. It's like our business, like what's actually moving the needle in your business. Like it's really easy, I think, to get sucked up on, if you're a business owner, you can relate getting sucked up on social media and feeling like you need to constantly posting. When you actually look at the numbers, look at the data, you'll see that the place that you've been, I guess I'm coming from personal experience here. It wasn't until I looked at all the places I'm at, you know, online, and I realized that most of my traction comes from YouTube and this podcast as well, and Substack. But yeah, I'm wasting all this time on Instagram. And I realized like that, not that I'm going to ditch Instagram, but it's not my main place of focus anymore. I'm going to nurture the places where my ideal clients are at rather than, on Instagram. Instagram is like a snack. It's like junk food, right? And I want to feed my potential clients. I want to feed my viewers. I want to feed, the people that follow me. I want to feed them a nice, nutritious meal that's satisfying, right? So that being said, being busy gives us the illusion of being in control when actually we're not really in control because we're not giving attention to the things that really need the attention. Another personal story that has nothing to do with business, because not everyone that follows me is an entrepreneur. So back when I was a teacher, I was doing everything. I was volunteering for everything. Not only was I teaching history to middle schoolers, I was also the AVID coordinator. I was also on the school site council. I also led the drama club and the AVID club and the tech club, and I was doing too much. Obviously, now that I'm reciting everything, I was doing way too much. And on paper, it looked great. I was doing all the things. I was like the star teacher, but yet I felt empty. I felt so empty and drained and disconnected and resentful. I'm a voracious reader. During that season in life when I was teaching, I did not read any books. I read no books at all because I just did not have the energy after work to crack open a book and read. It's like, no, I would just like zone out on TV, and that's not fulfilling either, like zoning out on TV. We didn't have like social media back then, but now I probably would have been if I was still working as a teacher and feeling this way. I probably would be on my phone, like just scrolling on TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever. And I realized that I was busy, but I just wasn't present. I wasn't present. And that's when I realized that I did not want to teach anymore, because I knew deep down that I wanted more. I wanted more to my life. And I know as a teacher, I wanted to give a lot. And I knew that I would not be able to be the type of teacher I wanted to be without sacrifice in some way. And I had to make a hard decision, and I decided to quit teaching. I decided that I'm not going to become a teacher anymore. I loved my students, didn't like all the other things, all the admin work, but I loved my students and I loved teaching. And I decided to quit. So I, gave my notice, turned in my resignation letter. And at the end of the school year, I packed up my stuff and I did not go back. And do I regret it? No, I think it gave me a valuable lesson in learning what my limits are, what my boundaries are. And it was like a slow journey towards living this more intentional life that I live today. And I've had many little moments in life that kind of like pushed me a little bit further. So I was just so empty. And it was like the best decision. I was like so stressed. I was having like jaw problems, like the locked jaw. And then I guess I was like clenching my teeth so hard that I was cutting off circulation to my jaw. And my dentist like sent me to like a specialist, and the specialist was like, yeah, if like you don't figure out what's causing all this stress and making you do this, like you are going to lose your jaw. And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't want to lose my jaw. Basically, your body kind of tells you when you're stressed, and we often ignore it, right? We ignore the signs. We ignore the signs so often. And it's detrimental to our health because our body keeps the score, right? Isn't there a book about that? The body keeps the score. So obviously there's a hidden cost of constant busyness. And not only does our like personal life suffer, when we're constantly busy because we're not focusing on things that were important. Like I wasn't focusing on my relationship with my then fiance. I was too busy doing all the work things that, he was kind of like on the back burner. There was that. And then also I wasn't doing the things that I loved. I wasn't being creative. I wasn't reading books. There's like no room to daydream and imagine and to think deeply, because that's something that we're lacking in society now. Like deep thinking. People don't think deeply anymore. It's all surface level. We're not thinking deeply. And that's a travesty, really. That's a travesty. So when we're constantly busy, we're also emotionally disconnected from ourselves and from others. And obviously I was with my husband. I was with myself too, because I wasn't nurturing myself. So I was totally disconnected. And physical and mental exhaustion sneaks in slowly until it takes over. Until it takes over. If you don't notice the signs of when you need to slow down, your body will tell you. And oftentimes we do notice that we're just constantly busy and we're doing too much and we need to slow down, but yet we don't. Like, why is that? Why don't we slow down when we need to slow down? Why don't we know? Why don't we do it? I don't know. And also, the hidden cost of constant busyness also includes missing out on joy and pleasure and rest. Rest is so important. And I'm not talking about sleep. I'm not talking about going to sleep. Actual rest where we do nothing. We just do nothing. Like you can wait to do the laundry the next day, or heck, have someone else do it for you. You don't have to do everything. We don't have to do it all. Unless you're like single and living alone, then I guess you got to do everything. But if you live in a house with, like me, with like a partner and 3 kids, then yeah, you should not be doing it all yourself. And if you are, you need to have a conversation with your family because they need to share the load. So this is going to be a short and sweet podcast, I think, because I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question, and I want you to like really answer it. Is what's one thing you can let go of this week to create more space in your life? I'm not talking about 5 things. I'm just talking about one thing. Just one thing. Could it be a task, a commitment, a screen habit, or even a belief, like a limiting belief about yourself? So what's one thing you can let go of this week to create more space in your life? And this one choice is going to have a ripple effect. It'll have a ripple effect. You're going to eventually like, okay, if I can let go of that one thing, maybe next month I can let go of something else. And it just kind of adds up. And the next thing you know, you're living a more intentional life, a more joyful life, a more fulfilling life, a less busy life. Not everything is important. Remember that. If everything is important, then nothing is important. And if you don't get the laundry folded, no one's going to die. That's what my mom would always say. Did someone die? No? Then you're okay. So I hope that this kind of hit home with you. And I have something coming up on April 8th. And it's called the Cozy Life Retreat. It's a 3-day retreat online, totally free. And I'll be sharing daily audio reflections, journal prompts, and an optional meditation. And all of this is to help you explore why you're stuck, constantly being busy, and how you can create space for what really matters in your life. Because life is short. We don't know. We don't know when our end's going to come. We can do all the things, eat all the healthy foods, exercise, do all the things we're supposed to do in order to live a long life. It's no guarantee though, because anything can happen. And I want you to live the best, happiest, joyful, fulfilling life that you can possibly live. And if that sounds interesting to you, I'll leave a link down in the description. You can also just visit my Substack, which is suanklavecka.substack.com. Sign up for the free version and you'll get access to it when it drops on April 8th to April 10th. Okay, and I'll see you guys. I don't know. I still got time. I may record another podcast episode, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao.